Imagine being a respected judge, known for your wisdom and fairness, yet living with a hole in your heart, a hole that was left when your daughter disappeared without a trace. Years have passed, but the pain has never faded, and then, one ordinary day in court, everything changes. In the middle of a routine trial, you see a necklace, the same one you gave your daughter the night she vanished. Your world stops. Could this be the clue you've been waiting for? Is she still out there? This is the haunting story of Judge Isabella Hartman, a mother torn between hope and despair, caught in a whirlwind of emotion as she's thrust back into the darkest chapter of her life. In this gripping tale of love, loss, and unanswered questions, we follow Isabella on her desperate search for the truth, as one small discovery threatens to unravel everything she thought she knew. Will this lead her to her daughter, or will it only deepen the mystery? So if you want to hear the heartbreaking story of a mother's unyielding hope and her quest for answers, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. The story starts with an impressive room. The kind that demands respect shelves are lined with old, weathered law books, each representing a lifetime of work, of justice served. You can feel the weight of history here. Everything is orderly, everything in its place, reflecting the judge's years of dedication and her reputation for fairness and discipline. At the desk of Judge Isabella Hartman, there was a picture of a young girl. This is Emily, Isabella's daughter, and around her neck, you notice a simple, beautiful silver necklace. This necklace wasn't just a piece of jewelry, it was a gift, something incredibly special. Isabella had given it to Emily on her 16th birthday, a moment filled with love and pride. That necklace symbolized their bond, their unbreakable connection as mother and daughter. For Isabella, it wasn't just a gift, it was a token of everything she cherished about her only child. We're no longer in the judge's chambers, we're in a warm, sunlit room in their home years before. The air is filled with laughter and love. We see Isabella, with a soft smile, gently clasping the necklace around Emily's neck. Her hands are steady, her eyes full of pride as she steps back to admire her daughter. It's a beautiful, intimate moment, a mother, her daughter, and the love that fills the room, but the joy, the laugh, and the love on Isabella's face wasn't for forever. Emily had gone out one evening, just like any other night, and never returned. She disappeared, leaving Isabella's life shattered in an instant. The world sees Isabella as a strong, composed judge, someone who stands firm in the face of the law, but inside, she's still a grieving mother. The necklace, once a symbol of love, is now a painful reminder of everything she lost. Every day, Isabella puts on the mask of the judge, but inside, she's a woman haunted by the past, by unanswered questions, by the absence of the child she may never see again. A new day began just like any other, but Isabella had no idea it would become one of the most unforgettable days of her life. Isabella steps into the courtroom, her face calm and composed, just like everyone expects from her. She's wearing the mask of the seasoned judge, the one she's perfected over the years. But if you look closely, you can see the subtle lines of exhaustion around her eyes, the weariness that lingers in her gaze. It's a weariness that only someone who has been carrying immense personal grief for years can hide so well. Today, the case seems like any other, a routine trial involving a young man named Samuel who's been charged with a string of thefts. The defendant looks nervous, barely in his 20s, his clothes wrinkled and his eyes heavy with shame. He avoids eye contact with Isabella, his shoulders slumped, already looking like he's accepted his fate. The prosecutor begins, calmly listing off the evidence. It's nothing unusual, various stolen items, the kind of case Isabella has seen countless times before. Her mind is wandering slightly, maybe thinking of other things, lost in her usual rhythm as the trial unfolds. But then the prosecutor reaches for the last item. It's a necklace. Just a simple necklace held up for the court to see. This is where everything changes. When Isabella sees the necklace, her eyes lock on the necklace and her entire expression shifts. She's no longer the composed judge. Her eyes widen and her breath catches in her throat. It's the necklace. The very same one she had given her daughter Emily on her 16th birthday, the one that Emily was wearing the night she disappeared. Her breathing becomes shallow and her chest tightens. The flood of emotions, shock, hope, fear overwhelms her. Isabella gasps for air, but it feels like the room is closing in around her. She sways slightly in her seat, trying to keep it together, but then, in an instant, she collapses. Her body crumples, falling to the floor with a thud. The courtroom erupts into chaos. Officers rush forward, and court staff surrounds her, calling out her name, trying to help, but no one knows what happened, why she reacted like that, or what the connection between the necklace and Isabella. When Isabella wakes up, she finds herself in a quiet, dimly lit back room. The air is heavy with concern as her colleagues gather around her, their faces full of worry. They ask if she's okay, if she needs help, but Isabella waves them off, insisting she's fine. She wants to appear strong and in control, but inside, her mind is in turmoil. Everything she just saw is flooding her thoughts. The necklace, that necklace, it wasn't just a piece of jewelry, it was her daughter's. And now, all these years later, it had shown up again, worn by someone on trial for theft. Her heart pounds in her chest. She can barely comprehend what this could mean. Is Emily still alive? Is there some impossible, unbelievable chance that her daughter, who disappeared so many years ago, could be out there somewhere? But then, doubt creeps in. Maybe the necklace has passed through so many hands over the years that it's nothing more than a coincidence. A cruel twist of fate. Her emotions swirl, shifting between hope and dread. Isabella knows she can't stay in this back room, can't hide from the truth that's now staring her in the face. She needs answers, and she needs them now. Steeling herself, she gets up, her body still shaky from the shock. She takes a deep breath and heads back into the courtroom, but this time she's not the composed, authoritative figure she usually is. Her professional mask is cracking. As she walks back into the room, her eyes are laser-focused on Samuel, the young defendant. Her hands tremble slightly, but she forces herself to speak. Her voice, usually so steady and commanding, wavers as she asks the question burning in her mind. "Where did you get the necklace?" Her words hang in the air, heavy with emotion. The courtroom goes silent. Everyone can sense something has shifted. Samuel, still seated in the defendant's chair, looks up, confused and startled by her direct question. His face goes pale and he fumbles with his words. I bought it from a pawn shop," he stammers, clearly not understanding the weight of what he's saying. He shifts nervously, avoiding her intense gaze. "A few months ago. I didn't know it was. I didn't know." His words trail off as he glances around the room, sensing that something far bigger is happening than just his trial. Isabella feels a mix of emotions wash over her. Relief that the necklace might not be connected to something darker, but also frustration, because this small, vague answer doesn't tell her what she really needs to know. Is it just a coincidence? Could her daughter's necklace have passed through so many hands, ending up in a random pawn shop, only to land in this thief's possession? Her voice cracks again, this time not from weakness but from desperation. "Which pawn shop?" she asks. She's holding on to any glimmer of hope she can find. Samuel looks even more confused, but he manages to give her a name and a location. Isabella stands there, frozen for a moment. She knows this could be another dead end, another false hope. But she also knows that she has to follow it. She has to find out the truth, even if it leads to heartbreak once again. Isabella Hartman orders an immediate investigation into the pawn shop that Samuel mentioned. She's no longer just a judge in this case, she's a mother desperate for answers. Her voice trembles with urgency as she gives the directive, and the detectives waste no time. The detectives discover that the necklace had been sold by an older man. The pawn shop owner recalls him vaguely. He seemed suspicious, like someone with connections to the criminal underworld, but his description is frustratingly vague. The details blur: a man in his 60s, wearing an old coat, avoiding eye contact. Nothing concrete, nothing that can lead to an immediate breakthrough. When Isabella hears this news, her expression is a mix of hope and frustration. Could this man have been involved in her daughter's disappearance? Could he know something, anything, about Emily? She finds herself standing in front of the mirror, holding the photograph of Emily wearing the necklace, her hand trembling as she whispers her daughter's name. The emotional weight is suffocating. All she wants is a single answer: where is Emily? Back in the courtroom, the tension is unbearable. Judge Isabella Hartman, fighting to keep her emotions in check, leans forward and fixes her gaze on Samuel. Her heart pounds as she presses him for more information. She asks, "Do you know anything about the girl who once wore this necklace?" Samuel, still seated in the defendant's chair, shifts uncomfortably. His body language screams unease, his shoulders hunch, and his eyes dart around the room, avoiding direct contact with Isabella's. He shakes his head, his voice shaky as he responds, "No, I swear, I don't know anything about her." But something in his expression gives him away. There's a flicker, just for a moment, of something deeper: guilt, fear, or maybe a secret he's not ready to reveal. She can feel she's on the edge of a breakthrough, so close to uncovering the truth about Emily. Samuel's denial isn't enough to convince her. Her eyes remain locked on him, searching for any crack in his story, any hint that he's holding back. Samuel starts to crumble. His hands are trembling now, and his breathing becomes uneven. His eyes dart around, seeking an escape, but there's none. Finally, with a heavy sigh, he admits something. I didn't know the necklace was special," he stammers, "but I had a feeling something was off about the guy who sold it to me." As the scene intensifies, Samuel's admission leaves the courtroom hanging in suspense. Isabella's face, now a mix of hope and dread, says it all. She's on the cusp of something life-changing, but will it give her the answers she's been seeking for so long? The detectives, after days of chasing leads, finally track down the old man who sold the necklace. They move through the grim streets of a rundown part of the city, a stark contrast to the grandeur of the courthouse. The buildings are dilapidated, windows boarded up, and the air is thick with decay. They knock on the door of a crumbling apartment, and when it opens, they find the man inside, living in squalor. His clothes are tattered, and he looks worn by the weight of his years. The detectives ask him about the necklace, showing him a picture of it. He furrows his brow, taking a moment to remember, before giving them the answer that neither they nor Isabella wanted to hear. He admits that he found the necklace abandoned in a park one evening. It was tossed aside with a few other valuables, as if someone had hurriedly gotten rid of them. His voice is rough and apologetic, but there's no sign of malice. He had no idea it belonged to someone important, much less that it was tied to a missing person case. When the detectives relay the man's story to her, the devastation is palpable. The necklace, which had given her a glimmer of hope, now feels like another dead end. For a brief moment, she thought she was closer to finding out what happened to Emily, but this revelation crushed her. Her eyes filled with exhaustion, her body tense with the weight of this new disappointment. The investigation reaches a cold, dark conclusion. The man doesn't know Emily. He doesn't know what happened to her or how the necklace ended up abandoned in a park. It was just another discarded item in the chaos of the world, like so many others, and now it's led her nowhere. She holds the necklace one last time, her fingers tracing its delicate chain. What once symbolized hope now feels like a haunting reminder of everything she's lost. In the final moments of the story, Isabella Hartman is sitting alone in her chambers. The room, which once felt grand and full of purpose, now feels empty and oppressive. Isabella sits at her desk, the necklace resting delicately in her trembling hands. She gently turns the necklace over, the same one she gave her daughter Emily so many years ago, and it feels heavier than ever, burdened by unanswered questions and fading hope. Tears slowly roll down Isabella's cheeks, each drop carrying years of grief and unanswered questions. She whispers Emily's name into the silence of the room. The sound hangs in the air, echoing in the emptiness of her chambers. It's as if she's calling out to the daughter she's lost, hoping that somewhere, somehow, Emily can still hear her. The courtroom trial may be over, the case officially closed, but Isabella's personal trial, the one that matters most to her, remains unresolved. If you want to hear more stories like this, let me know in the comment box.